In this video, we finna be talking about how Christian missionaries viewed the American Indian. We will also see the customs and traditions that they observed. Before I get into what I'm gonna get into, I want to define a few terms for you. First one being manifest destiny. A phrase coined in 1845 is the idea that the United States is destined by God, its advocates believe, to expand its dominion and spread democracy and capitalism across the entire North American continent. And the second term is predestination. Predestination in Christianity is a doctrine that God has eternally chosen those whom he intends to save. In modern usage, predestination is distinct from both determinism and fatalism and is subject to the free decision of the human moral will. But the doctrine also teaches that salvation is entirely due to the eternal decree of God. Now, let's look at the history of the mission of the United Brethren among the Indians in North America. This was originally in German by George Henry Loskiel. Then it was translated in English by Christian Ignatius Latrobe. And this is from 1791. Among the millions hitherto established by the Church of the United Brethren, the million among the Indians in North America is unquestionably one of the most remarkable, whether we consider the various changes it has undergone or the nations which are its object. The United Brethren is one of the oldest Protestant denominations in Christianity. It was founded in 1457. The Delaware and Iroquois and the nations in league with them resemble each other much, both as to their bodily and mental qualifications. Their skin is of a reddish brown, nearly resembling copper, but in different shades. Some are of a brown yellow, not much different from the mulattoes. Some light brown, hardly to be known from a brown European, except by their hair and eyes. The opinion of some authors who maintain that the Indians, even in the state of puberty, have no hair but upon their heads is not well founded. They do not differ from other nations in this respect, but as they consider hairs upon the body as a deformity, they are continually rooting them out, so that at length they are scarcely any visible. So this destroys the rumor that the American Indian cannot grow a beard or facial hair. Before we enter upon a description of the religious knowledge of these nations, it must be observed that we consider it in its present state. For as the Europeans have lived so long, both in their neighborhood and among them, it may reasonably be supposed that the present religious notions of the Indians differ in many respects from those of their forefathers. So he's telling you that the Indians at this point in time more than likely practice religion much differently than their ancestors did. And he supposed that would be because of European influence. They represent God as almighty and able to do as much good as he pleases, nor do they doubt but that he is graciously and mercifully disposed towards men. Besides the supreme being, they believe in good and evil spirits, considering them as subordinate deities. From the accounts of the oldest Indians, it appears that whenever war was in contemplation, they used to admonish each other to hearken to the good and not to the evil spirits, the former always recommending peace. They seem to have had no idea of the devil as the prince of darkness before the Europeans came into the country. So he's telling you how much of an influence the Europeans had on the religions or beliefs of the American Indian. The humane behavior of the governor of Pittsburgh greatly incensed or enraged those people who, according to the account given in the former part of this history, represented the Indians as Canaanites, who without mercy ought to be destroyed from the face of the earth, and considered America as the land of promise given to the Christians. So the Christians must have saw themselves as Judeans or Israelites, and they viewed America as the land of Canaan, or the promised land, the land of milk and honey. And what did the Israelites do to the Canaanites when they got to Canaan? I'm moving on. Now, let's look into missionary conquest, the gospel and Native American cultural genocide by George E. Tinker. The church or missionary responses to the European or American colonialism exhibited two general patterns. One pattern which view immigrant America as the new Israel, overtly helped build the theological base for the doctrine of manifest destiny. The other pattern may have been very critical of white American dealings with Indians or blacks, but lived its own manifest destiny agenda. Indeed, these critics were opposed to the brutal military conquest of native peoples. They preferred the conquest of conversion instead. For them, this meant conversion to what they assumed were a superior culture and set of values and societal structures every bit as much as it meant conversion to the gospel of Jesus Christ. So he's saying it was all about converting them to their culture rather than just the religion. They cared more about the culture than they cared about the religious aspects of the conversion. Because if you take away a people's culture, you take away the people. It's simple. For instance, both Bartholomew and Henry Benjamin in different ways earned great reputations as defenders of Indian people, yet both are implicated in the cultural destruction of Indian tribes. Las Casas first devised the famed reduction paradigm for missionary conquest. Whipple engineered the U.S. government's theft of the Black Hills from the Sioux people, which finally broke the back of the Sioux resistance. I don't know what book this is from, but I saw it on this guy's YouTube channel. His channel is Old Rural Florida if you want to go check it out. These pastures are the New World, wherein is comprised Florida, now in possession of the demon, and here he makes himself adored and revered. This is the land of the promise, possessed by idolaters, the Amorite, Amalekite, Moabite, and Canaanite. This is the land promised by the eternal Father to the faithful, since we are commanded by God and the Holy Scriptures to take it from them, being idolaters, and by reason of their idolatry and sin, to put them all to the knife, leaving no living thing save maidens and children, their cities robbed and sacked, their walls and houses leveled to the earth. Many Europeans believed them coming to America was the fulfilling of prophecy within the Bible. Many Europeans believed that this is their promised land, and they converted you in the duration of them being here.